What's up, guys? Welcome back to Hands On Channel. I've got a real doozy for you here today. I've got some good news and some bad news. I'll give it to you straight. The bad news first. Dr. Anthony Fauci is a liar. No doubt about it. It's been confirmed many different times, but he's a liar. And we're going to go over some of his most famous lies here, 8 of them, in this video. But the thing I want you to take away from this more than anything is that the most important lie that he told was regarding the gain-of-function research, and he denied it. He said that we had nothing to do with it, the NIH or whatever that other organization is he's involved with, they had nothing to do with it. Well, today, through a Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, somebody found out that actually they did fund it. And so that makes Fauci look awfully guilty of lying under oath. And that does come with a penalty of up to 5 years in prison. And I don't know what kind of financial, monetary fines there would be, but I'm sure there are fines and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe he would lose his medical license, or at very least he should lose his job. So there's some, the hammer is about to drop, I believe, on Fauci. Now, in reality, I know how this stuff in Washington, D.C. works. They have gotten several people over the years and had them guilty, caught them red-handed, and then nothing ever happened to them. Exhibit A, Hillary Clinton. I mean, she has gotten away with literally murder. Her and the Clinton crime family have gotten away with murder countless times over the years. There's a whole trail of bodies that, if nothing else, it looks very, very suspicious that all point back to Hillary and Bill Clinton and their organizations. So, for me to say, yes, Fauci's going to get locked up, I kind of doubt it. I seriously doubt that they'll ever put a person like Anthony Fauci behind bars. But if we can put enough pressure on our national representatives and senators, then there might be a chance we can put the squeeze on this guy and at least get him out of his job. So I think that's probably the most realistic scenario, is that Fauci would lose his job and maybe be fined or something like that. But I doubt very seriously he would go to prison. But you could argue that this is a big enough deal, a big enough issue that, if this stuff is all being vetted and proven to be true, then thousands and thousands, I don't know, millions even of people have died from this disease, this man-made virus. So very, very interesting stuff is happening. Now, so the good news is that, yeah, Fauci is possibly going to be held accountable for this stuff. I'm not holding my breath for that because I'm a realist, but let's get into some of these 8 different things that I've seen that basically are confirmed lies coming from the lips of Anthony Fauci. So let's go. Fauci, the bureaucrat who led the Plandemic response. Oh, by the way, Jen Psaki called it a Plandemic, I believe today or yesterday. Now, maybe you could argue it was just a slip of the tongue or a Freudian slip even, but she said a Plandemic, which was very interesting. Fauci, the bureaucrat who led the Plandemic response from Trump to Biden, has been lying his ass off. Here are 8 examples. So the number 1 example. He claimed that the Rona was not a major threat, and yet it was. So you might argue that, if you've got a point man or a lookout tower, and the guy in the lookout tower is not telling you that the enemy is building up a presence in one of your vulnerable areas, then you would call that guy a traitor, because he didn't do his duty, he didn't do his job, he allowed some. You might even think he was working with the enemy. So he claimed that the Rona was not a big deal, not a major threat. And yet it was. If nothing else, the tyranny and the boot of the oppressors have come down more on our throats over this Rona stuff than anything I've ever seen in my lifetime. So it definitely was a big deal. Whether or not the actual virus was as big a deal as they made it out to be, that's up for debate. I would argue, no, it wasn't. But anyways, here's what one of Fauci's quotes on this. He said, "But this is not a major threat to the people of the United States, and this is not something that the citizens of the United States right now should be worried about." That was January 21st, 2020. His next quote, "The American people should not be worried or frightened by this. It's a very, very low risk to the United States, but it's something we, as public health officials, need to take very seriously." January 26, 2020. So, yeah, number 1 lie right there. That's one of his lies. Not necessarily the most important one, but number 2 lie. He told Americans that masks were unnecessary days before Rona was officially classified as a global pandemic. He then walked back on it. So here's his quote. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks. There's no reason to be walking around with masks. That was March 8th, 2020. Is this a lie? Number 2. They told Americans that masks were unnecessary. I don't believe it is, because masks are unnecessary. What this number 2 does is it illustrates the fact that later on, when he was talking out of the other side of his face and he was saying, oh, yeah, you got to wear the mask. You got to wear the mask. Now you need to wear 2 masks or even 3 masks or whatever. That was the lie. This was actually truth. But what it does is it illustrates the fact that he lied later. So I think that's really important. March 8th, 2020. That's when those lies took place. Whatever. It's totally asinine and just basically made to control you. At the end of the day, all of this stuff is made to control you and control the populace. Number 3, knowingly lied to Americans about his opinion on mask efficacy. Had no regrets. So here's his quote. We were told we have a serious problem with lack of PPEs and masks for health providers, and decided we really needed to save the masks for people who need them most. 7/15/20. So on July 15th, 2020, Fauci boy was saying that you don't need the mask because we need the PPE for our hospital and staff and stuff like that, and there's no reason that you should wear a mask because the particles are too small anyways. A mask isn't going to do any good for you. So he didn't say all that, but that's the truth of it, you know. So very, very interesting. He lied about his opinion on mask efficacy. And I remember there were a couple of emails that came out. I'm not looking at that right now, but there were a couple of emails that came out where Fauci was singing a different tune to his buddies and stuff than he was to the American people. So I'm not surprised. Hopefully you're not either. Number 4, he claimed that New York's brutal lockdowns were the only path out of the pandemic. They weren't. Florida took a different route, and many other states. South Dakota, I think it was. Maybe it was North Dakota, where Kristi Noem is. They didn't lock down at all, and their rates stayed very low. But Florida took a different route, and that was more successful. And here is Fauci's quote. When you do it properly, you bring down those cases. We have done it. And he's talking about locking down, severe lockdowns. We have done it in New York. New York got hit worse than any place in the world, and they did it correctly by doing things that you're talking about. You can go back on you can go back on July 17th, 2020, and find the interview where he said that and get more context if you like. So he knowingly lied. Number 5, he knowingly lied about herd, I can't say that word or I'll get in trouble, statistics. Here's his quote. When polls said only half of Americans would take the vaccine, I was saying herd would take 70 to 75%. Then the newer survey said 60% or more would take it. I thought I can nudge this up a bit. So we went to 80 or 85%. And he's talking about how many people they want to get to take the vaccine. And so he just nudged them up a bit. You know, just another example of how, you know, they can make the numbers whatever they want them to be. Number 6, they predicted Americans would still need to wear masks after vaccination, going against the science. Here's his quote. Currently, we do not have enough data to be able to say with confidence that the vaccines can prevent transmission. So even if vaccinated, you may still be able to spread the virus to the vulnerable people. And that was February 2nd, 2021. Number 7, he claimed that Texas mask mandate repeal would cause a surge in cases. It didn't. A month later, after the repeal, Texas cases dropped by 4,000 per day. And here's his quote. My strong advice to them would be to continue to implement the public health measures. Now is not the time to pull back. And that was March 4th, 2021. It can be confusing because often you have to wait a few weeks before you see the effect. I'm not really quite sure. It could be they're doing things outdoors. He's trying to blame it on the fact, you know, the reason why their numbers went down. He's saying, oh, it could be that they're doing things outdoors. That's why they're not getting as much virus or whatever. So just unbelievable. The guy he'll lie and do anything he can at the moment to save his own bacon. Okay, this is the most important one. Number 8, lying about gain-of-function research. So we covered the lab leak theory. based on research. It's clear that the NIH funded problematic research in China that could have caused the Rona outbreak. Despite Fauci's recent claim that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, gain-of-function research was happening and the NIH's money was tied to it through a web of grants. As recently as 2018, he was praising the NIH's decision to lift its paws on the fund of gain-of-function research, and that's from the Washington Examiner. And Senator Rand Paul caught wind of the FOIA release today and the fact that it proves Fauci lied about the gain-of-function research, and here's what he had to say about it. Surprise, surprise, Fauci lied again, and I was right about his agency funding novel coronavirus research at Wuhan. Read this thread and the papers released. So this thread and the papers that Rand Paul is referencing is by Richard H. Ebright. And here's what he had to say about it. Newly released documents provide details of U.S.-funded research on coronavirus at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The Intercept has obtained more than 900 pages of documents detailing work of EcoHealth Alliance at the Chinese lab. The documents make it clear that assertions by NIH Director Francis Collins and the NIAID Director Anthony Fauci that the NIH did not support gain-of-function research or potential pandemic pathogen enhancement at WIV are untruthful. That's a legal way of saying he's a damn liar. He's lying through his teeth. Here's the proof of it. We got paperwork, 900 pages from the Wuhan Virology Lab, Institute of Virology, and they proved that Anthony Fauci lied, and maybe this other guy too. I'm not sure if Francis Collins has been grilled quite like Anthony Fauci has over this whole gain-of-function thing. But guys, this is bombshell. So the real question becomes, what are we going to do about it? What can we do about it to make sure that justice is served, even for people that are the elitists like Fauci? Well, I would argue you have to be the squeaky wheel. You're going to have to bug the hell out of your national representatives and national senators to make them do their jobs, because they don't want to do this kind of stuff. It can put the politicians in a vulnerable position where it might be hard for them to get reelected again, especially if this comes back and gets egg on their face or something like that. So I would highly advise you to basically bug your politicians to make them do their jobs. Call them up every day if you have to. Email them every day, whatever. Go down there and say, hey, what are you doing to get Anthony Fauci on trial for lying to the American people, for lying to Congress? I mean, you know, it could come with up to a 5-year prison sentence. I doubt very seriously that that's ever going to happen. You know, I don't think for a second they would ever lock up one of their elitist boys like Fauci, but they could maybe get him out of his job, which I think would be a really great thing for the United States of America. Fauci lied and people died. So maybe that'll be the headline for the video. I don't know. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this stuff. I think this is bombshell. Maybe one of the biggest stories of 2021, just in the fact that we're finally starting to learn the truth. These people have been lying to us all along about everything. And here's 8 examples of Fauci's lies. So appreciate you tuning in. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I stand for liberty. I hope you do too. And let's hold these people's feet to the fire and get Fauci out of there. Maybe even thrown in jail. Boy, that would, what a celebration we could have if Fauci got locked up in prison. Man, oh man, I can only imagine.